A family mourns the brutal death of a child. Cabinet ministers chime in on that tragedy, and scores of immigration officers have been promoted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Monday, November 8th. The death of 4-year-old Deanya Walker has sparked outrage in the Bahamas, and no less for her family. The 4-year-old girl succumbed to her injuries sustained all over her body this weekend, as reported by police. According to police, sometime around 5 p.m. on Friday, officers received information from medical practitioners at the Princess Margaret Hospital that the child was brought to the facility unresponsive. She later succumbed to her injuries. Our news team caught up with the child's uncle, 21-year-old Codell Newton, who says the 4-year-old, affectionately known as Bella, was living in Grand Bahama since she was 2 weeks old. It was just 2 months ago that her mother requested that she be sent here to the capital, and he's speculating that Bella could have possibly been raped.
The mom went to work, and the stepdad raped my niece. But from what I understand, the guy that did it, he used to constantly, beat her and stuff. So I'm not sure if it was going on for a while, but I was speaking to one of our coworkers yesterday, and she said that when our son came to work, she was constantly bruised and had bruises on her. And she used to lie to them and say, she fell in a pool or some bogus story. But what I understand is the stepdad, well, not even the stepdad, her boyfriend molested my niece. Well, raped her and killed her.
Now asks what he's feeling after hearing of his niece having such a brutal death. Mr. Newton says this.
I'm not angry at the person. I'm angry at the mother for not leaving her in my mom's care, in a caring home, in my family's care. I'm angry at the person I'm angry at the mother for removing her from that loving home, from the loving people. Like, as you can see, the whole island of Grandmama, like my whole community is shaken by the passing of my niece, because everyone knew my niece, and everyone knew her as a sweet girl. Even in the photos, like you could see, she was a sweet child. She was a sweet child.
St. Barnabas MP Shannon Cartwright also released a statement yesterday on the matter, calling for the full weight of the law to be brought upon the person responsible, someone he describes as, quote, cowardly, sick, and depraved. He adds that justice should be served to all persons who were complicit in creating an environment for the act to take place. At last report, police said they're awaiting an autopsy to determine Smith's exact cause of death. Prime Minister Philip Davis joining with hundreds of outraged Bahamians following that brutal death of that 4-year-old girl this weekend. He says the thought of any child being harmed is deeply distressing, adding that as the nation grieves with her family, we must do all that we can to ensure justice is served and to honor her memory.
Let us find ways to cherish how she lived, that her name means more than just the way that she died. Let us do all that we can to ensure that no other child suffers the same fate. It goes far beyond what our laws can achieve and to the very idea of who we are. There are those in every society whose transgressions defy comprehension. Our job is to do what is necessary to prevent it. Never again should this be allowed to happen. I've spoken to the family, and I have assured them that we will do all in our power to ensure that our little darlings are not harmed in this way again.
Minister of State for Social Services and Urban Development Lisa Ramming also chimed in, encouraging the public not to take matters into their own hands.
And I'm saying to the wider public, that's not the answer. The answer is for us to put on our thinking caps and to put preventative measures for this, something like this, not to happen again to any other child. And so there are measures. The Child Protection Act, of course, is there. And it provides measures for mandatory measures for persons who know that a child is being abused or suspect that a child is being abused, that it should be reported. Now, social services has the child protection unit that is responsible for matters like this, and that is located on Robinson Road at our center, and it is a clarion call to all residents. Let's not wait until something happens and then say that I should have and I could have and I would have. There are measures that you can take if you feel like a child or somebody is being abused. Call our child protection unit, call our emergency hotline, call the police. Even if you don't want to be involved, you can be anonymous. And so we're putting measures in place now.
The Monday, November 8th edition of the Jamaican Observer webinars segment of the newspaper featured a somewhat disturbing report titled Inside the COVID Tests Muddle. The article says in October, the World Health Organization flagged both the Bahamas and Jamaica as having imported COVID-19 test kits which were substandard. Jcn Saunders spoke with the Minister of Health and Wellness regarding that in this report.
The report from the Jamaican Observer says Cynthia Lewis-Graham, the director of the Ministry of Health Standards and Regulations in Jamaica, disclosed that some 100,000 test kits had been imported in breach of Jamaica's Disaster Risk Management Act. Upon reading the report, Love 97 JCN sought to get an explanation from the government of the Bahamas. The Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Dowell, says they are aware of the unfolding situation.
Our technical team did indicate that PAHO indicated to us that there were some counterfeit ST biosensored rapid antigen tests originating from manufacturers in India that arrived in the Bahamas. As you are aware, there are only two rapid antigen tests at this time that's approved by our national lab, and that's the ST biosensor and the Abbott rapid antigen test. Since receiving that information, the ministry communicated formally with all medical health councils and wholesalers and appraised them of the situation and to be on the lookout for these particular tests.
Because it is unclear where the substandard tests may have ended up, Dr. Dowell is also making an appeal to private medical facilities to be aware of these faulty tests as the government tries to weed them out of the system and uphold the rules associated with COVID-19 testing.
So we have a surveillance team looking out for them, but you're absolutely right. Some of these tests have gotten into our space. And this is one of the reasons why in our healthcare rules, we made it very clear in Section 10 about the rules associated with testing and the validity of COVID-19 tests.
Dr. Dowell says the country cannot afford to have its COVID-19 testing and vaccination database compromised.
When the ministry finds these fake tests or these substandard tests, we will definitely have to remove them off the market because our database cannot be contaminated with false positive or negatives as a result of these substandard tests. So yes, we are aware of it. PAHO brought it to our attention, and we moved swiftly to notify all of our labs and health councils about these tests being available in the Bahamas.
The report in the Jamaican Observer also says a World Health Organization surveillance system for substandard and falsified products first made their concerns known via email on October 13th. And again, the COVID-19 test kits being classified as substandard were manufactured in India. Jcn Saunders for JCN News.
Attorney General Senator Ryan Pinder slamming the former Free National Movement government, particularly former Attorney General Carl Bethel, as he revealed in the Senate on Monday morning that some $1.1 million was spent on failed prosecution of former Progressive Liberal Party parliamentarians. Our Lissy Bastian has the details in this report.
Attorney General Senator Ryan Pinder, during his contribution in response to the speech from the throne in the upper chamber Monday morning, called out the former Attorney General Carl Bethel while revealing that more than $1 million was spent on what he termed failed political prosecution of former Progressive Liberal Party Senator Frank Smith and former Cabinet Minister Shane Gibson. Mr. Smith, who was the chairman of the Public Hospitals Authority, was accused of bribery and extortion back in July of 2017, while Mr. Gibson, former Minister of Labor and National Insurance, was also accused of bribery and extortion, as well as misconduct while in public office in August of 2017.
Madam President, this is a big job, and there is a lot to do. And unfortunately, as a direct result of the performance of my predecessor, there is a lot to fix. I would be remiss not to say that if I had made the decisions in the private sector that my predecessor did while he was the Attorney General, I would most definitely be found to have committed malpractice and certainly would have been fired by my clients. Madam Speaker, I guess his clients, the Bahamian people, did in fact fire him and his colleagues on September 16th of this year.
Point of order.
Now to this, Opposition Senator Darren Henfield stood on a point of order, calling for the Attorney General to provide information to support his statement.
Point of order. Madam President. Madam President, the Attorney General knows quite well that you don't come to this place making such statements without information to support being placed before these hollow courts. I mean, if he's not going to support what he's saying about the former Attorney General, he ought to withdraw it.
To that, Senator Pinder says that there are several anomalies and questionable decisions by his predecessor which came to light upon taking office 7 weeks ago. According to AG Pinder, between November 2017 and August 2021, the Office of the Attorney General under the prior Attorney General spent some $3,457,688.18 in legal fees with its two primary foreign law firms in the United States and the United Kingdom. This, he says, however, isn't alarming, as the government has a need to source advice from all over the world.
What is alarming, Madam President, is the amount of funds expended on the failed political prosecutions. The former Attorney General spent $807,755.87 of the Bahamian taxpayer dollars with foreign lawyers on the prosecution of Shane Gibson, and $290,903 on the prosecution of Frank Smith. Two political prosecutions that failed. Added together, Madam Speaker, the former government spent approximately $1.1 million on failed political prosecutions. This is an astonishing 32% of all of the fees paid to the government's primary foreign law firms over a 4-year period on all matters in the country. 32%. Unconscionable.
Now, the AG charged that the prosecution of Mr. Smith and Mr. Gibson were blatant political prosecutions, and there was more politics in those matters than justifiable accusations. The proof, he says, were in their acquittals, and asserts that the time taken by the respective attorneys from the Department of Public Prosecution would have been better served prosecuting legitimate criminals in the Bahamas. For Jcn News, I'm Lissy Bastian.
You're watching Jcn News. Stay with us.